Hi, Duluth Moms. It's Andrea. I have a group of friends with me here, and we're having a conversation tonight about what we are doing intentionally in our homes to, I guess, create an atmosphere where it's safe to talk about and celebrate diversity, and to make sure that we are talking to our children about diversity and about being like anti-racist and not tolerating racism in our homes. So I have a couple of our Duluth Mom contributors with me tonight, and then I also have Sam Nelson. She's a leader of a anti-racism parenting group on Facebook here in the Duluth community. So I'm going to bring them on. There we all are. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Welcome. I have these ladies here with me tonight, and we just want to continue talking intentionally about anti-racism parenting in our homes. And we understand that we are all like four white women on the screen here. We recognize that it does not look diverse, so it seems kind of hypocritical. But it is our job as white parents to have these conversations with our children in our home and not to rely on our friends and neighbors and other moms of color, parents of color, to have these conversations with our children. So our intentions with this video were not to exclude any people of color or any diversity. Um, we just want to make sure that we're doing our job, and we invite you, if you have any comments or suggestions or things, I guess, that we need to learn. If we make a mistake on here, please gently correct us, and we're happy to listen to you. And we hope that you will be a part of the conversation in the future, either through videos and learning and conversations like this, or through submitting content to Duluth Mom. So with that, I'm going to let Sam be our moderator tonight and ask some questions, and she'll share some great quotes with you, and we'll have about a 10-minute conversation here.
Hello. Hello. Welcome. Thanks, everybody, for being here. So I thought a really great way to kind of start this off was a quote from Dr. Beverly Daniel Tatum, because this is kind of our opening of the conversation, right? Our launching pad, our starting off point of where do we begin with all of this? It can kind of seem overwhelming if we're not used to it. I know exactly how that feels. And this quote is really powerful. She says, if you want to interrupt the cycle, you have to stop silencing. So that's silencing ourselves, silencing our kids, and be willing to have these conversations, be willing to get uncomfortable, be willing to not have all the answers, but learn and grow and do it anyways. So let's start with that.
That's good. Laura, did you have a comment that you wanted to make
for our first question?
Yeah.
So one of the things I definitely wanted to pose to this group and to the wider group who's listening would be, do you initiate conversation with your children about race and diversity, or do you wait for them to come to you? And I've definitely have seen, and we could even share it as well, there was a graphic that had come up about how young is too young to talk to your children about race. And it's actually, appropriate younger than we think from this graphic and what researchers are saying. And so that's something that I've thought a lot about as a parent. I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and how little is too little, and what kind of conversations can we have? And so I can go, and or you all can answer first if you'd like.
I can comment on that. I had noticed with my daughter, she'll be 5 in December on Christmas already. Wow, it's October. And she is half American, half white, half Korean. And so she is used to seeing diverse faces and culture, I guess, but our skin tones, I guess, are pretty much the same. But she had a off-brand of a Lego set. It wasn't Lego. I'm not sure what brand it was, but on the box, it was supposed to be a black astronaut, black male astronaut, and on the directions it was a black male astronaut. And then when she was taking out the pieces to start to put together the space structure, she noticed that the astronaut was indeed not black on the piece of the Lego. And she recognized that. She just kept telling me, she's like, Mom, this is wrong. This is wrong. And I looked over. I didn't know what she was talking about. She can't read, so she wasn't reading the directions. And I looked, and she was showing me that the piece of Lego was the yellow Lego color. It was not the black skin tone color that was on the box. So this is her at not even quite 5 yet, and she knew that something was different. So that was when I knew, like, okay, she's probably ready to start having, conversations. She does notice it. It is important to not be silent.
Yeah, and kids notice whether we think they do or not. And I think once we open up that conversation, we realize how much they really do see. Maybe they might not have thought about it explicitly, but since opening up the conversation with my kids, like, they notice it everywhere. They notice, wow, there's a lot of white people here. Wow, look, there's a lot more diversity in this show than the other show. I've been amazed because it went from like 0 to 100 once we kind of had that open line of communication. Like, yeah, they really do notice this. We just weren't talking about it before.
Mm-hmm. My daughter specifically said to me when we were discussing including all families and all parents, and just when we were talking a lot about this and I opened the door a little bit wider, she specifically said to me, but Mom, everybody in our world is white. Mm. You're not wrong. Mm. Obviously in the greater wide world, that's not true. Mm-hmm. But it does show you this, like, hey, opening up and making sure that I am inviting more people and reaching out and giving her different experiences is so vitally and important to me, that it's something that, she's able to notice and point out.
Yeah. I guess for me, like, my train of thought had always been, if they notice something, my children notice something, they bring it up to me, we'll talk about it. Where my kids go to daycare, there's some diversity there, different colored skin, friends. That's who they play with. They're their friends. So it never was really something that we were like pointing out, I guess, because he wasn't asking. We do have family members, that have different color skin than us, or that are marrying into or are married to family members. My sister is engaged to somebody from India, and there was a recent event where he was attacked because of the color of his skin. So that kind of pushed us to have that conversation with him about just racism in general. Like, there's people that don't like you if you have different color skin, and that's not right. Like, we need to like everybody, no matter what color their skin is. So that kind of pushed us into having that conversation, but still just, I think, making sure that even though he sees that different color every day, like, and that's normal for him, like some other kids that he's going to be around, maybe that's not normal for them, and they're going to say things that he needs to be aware of isn't right, and he shouldn't be repeating them, and he needs to treat everybody fairly and kindly no matter what. So that's kind of where we're at with explaining things to our kids at this point, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And I would say that probably a lot of parents might be in a similar boat of, after there's been many recent events in our country that have spurred a lot more conversation around this. And that helped me open up the door to initiate more of that. Again, having a better understanding of what's age appropriate, but knowing that it's by like preschool, your children are able to identify and maybe even start to have preference for certain colors of skin. And so, or having this ability to then initiate those conversations was important for me, because my circle involves some diversity, but not enough for my liking. And clearly, as my daughter is stating, so it's important to me that I find many places to introduce that. And so a huge place that we start, which I'm a huge advocate of, is books. I mean, so many books, and really looking at the library that we have. And we've always had them, but it was like this even made it even more of a proactive, like seeking out these specific books that are going to help me even go in depth in these conversations. Because the way that I look at it with any kind of conversation, big conversation with my children, it's a puzzle piece, and I'm building towards a bigger picture here. And so it's always like adding a little bit and a little bit and a little bit as they age, so that those conversations are always there. I'm planting these seeds, so I'm not having to sit down with them one day and have this really big conversation when they may already know more than I think they do. And so being able to have these little bits and conversations that build up to this bigger picture, that also make it known to them that they can come to me with anything, any of these questions that they have, and we can talk about it, and it's okay. So books and reading some of those have really initiated some really great conversations. And doesn't necessarily mean that as a parent you need to go out and spend all this money on these books. Obviously, our public library has some great books to check out, but even then highlighting. So if you have certain books, highlighting what you're noticing and what you're not noticing, who's missing from the pictures, in the families, in the stories, on the shows that they're watching, who's missing, and how do you point those things out so that they're seeing it, and valuing difference in other people and how much more that brings to your life. That's where I like to try to take it, not just talking about, some people don't like certain people because of the color of their skin. Yes, we need to go there, but also how do we highlight difference and how valuable that is in just the friends that they have? Like, you think differently. Isn't that beautiful? It's so great to see what you can come up with when you think differently.
Yeah, I liked your point there, that not just noticing who is there, but who is missing. I like that a lot.
And kids notice. Yeah, once you open that up, yeah, they're like, oh wow, these people are not included in this.
Right.
I think there's this really great quote from Dr. Alana Nazoma, who I found it to be very helpful as this kind of like, where do I start? And she addressed this perfectly. She says, I think it's normal for parents to feel worried about making a mistake and saying the wrong thing, but they should acknowledge this to children at the beginning. You can say, I want to discuss what's going on with racism in our country, but I don't have all the answers. Maybe we can start noticing things and taking action, and we can be a part of the solution. So it can be as simple as that, even though it can kind of feel overwhelming.
Yeah, that's good.
So, ladies, let's talk about how we celebrate diversity in our homes.
Well, Mulaney got me hungry because she was talking about Indian food. How food is such a huge component to a lot of celebrations, and how food is very diverse. Maybe not in Duluth. It's getting there, though. I'm excited to try the fried chicken restaurant when that opens. But
yeah, we in our family, I guess, I come from a family who has roots in Mexico, and with a family member soon to be part of our family from India. We do eat a lot of different types of food. My son actually has a globe in his room, and whenever we eat something different, he wants to go find where did that come from. I know a lot of food is like Americanized, but we try to do some more authentic foods. My sister and I both like to cook. So we make a lot of different kinds of foods and just talk about where they come from and notice the different tastes. Like, you're not always going to have this type of spice in your normal macaroni and cheese and that kind of thing. So we do try to expand our views of different cultures through food in our family anyway. So
yeah. My husband cooks a lot of Korean when he has a chance, and so that's part of it too. And then we have like some of the traditional clothing from Korea that they use on really special holidays like weddings and the Lunar New Year, and sometimes funerals, I think too. So we have that, and we do have to have conversations. Like my daughter will be like, "Well, that's weird," and we'll have conversations about how it's part of her heritage and how it's important, and that her friends might not experience it, but they have their own celebrations and cultures, and yeah, everybody's different.
I always love that we talk a lot about how we celebrate a holiday. So I mean, even if you're taking Christmas, so there are a million different ways to celebrate Christmas, and every family does it differently, and so and that's just one holiday that takes place. And so we use books a lot, but we also will talk about how we in our family celebrate that holiday, and then ask our friends and our family, how do you celebrate this holiday? What holidays do you celebrate? And even taking that one holiday and looking at how everybody celebrates it differently, and how that's okay, because that's their family, and every family celebrates and does things differently. And even that can open that door to a bigger conversation, because you're just talking about this one aspect of a family and how they celebrate something, which can be really fun when you think about, what they're celebrating. So we do a lot of that, and it helps us explain away some of the things, and just like, well, Santa brought them this, right? And not me. Well, every family does things differently, and that's just how it looks. We always say, like, the parents tell Santa what we want you to bring them. And so, it's kind of this idea that it's so different. And so then being able to read books about the origin of a holiday and where it came from and who celebrates what is very interesting. And I love then hearing my daughter go and ask her friends, well, how do you celebrate this? Or what do you celebrate? Is really fun. So that's how we usually are able to incorporate a lot of that in our house.
Yeah, speaking of books, that's how we have been celebrating more diversity in our house, is learning about people of color and learning about their histories and all of these amazing things that they have done and how they've contributed. We're reading a book right now about Black women in U.S. history. So every night we're going through a new woman, and it's a really fun way for us to learn together and be like, wow, she is powerful. This is really amazing. So just learning together has been a really good way for my family to celebrate that diversity as well.
Cool. You have 2 girls, right, Sam?
I do. Yeah, 4 and 6.
Yeah. So that's really cool that they have those not characters, the figures to look up to, the history.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's that really great balance of being able to talk about the really hard things that have happened in comparison to also the really beautiful things are taking place, because I try really hard to not overwhelm, talking about, especially when you start talking about Black culture or Black heritage in our country, it can feel really heavy. For good reason, right? And so to really also be highlighting them, I love that story, to be talking about these amazing women that have been doing these things to really highlight the beautiful things about difference in culture and what's there. So yeah.
Awesome.
Any final thoughts?
Any final thoughts?
I always have too many thoughts, so I'm
have to hold back.
Well, that's okay. We can make this a series. Should I talk about that and close us out here? Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you guys all for being here tonight. Thank you, Sam, for helping facilitate the conversation, and thank you, Laura, for the idea, and Mulaney for joining us and just sharing what we're doing in our houses. We are excited that some of you may just be starting these conversations, and this may be the video to inspire you to start in your homes. And then some of you, we just invite to continue having these conversations with us. As we go about our parenting journey, we're hoping to turn this into a series of at least 3, which we can continue going on more if we want to. But we just want to make sure that moms in the community in Duluth are feeling support and are feeling encouraged and are finding the conversations and the resources that they need to parent successfully with their kids. So thank you all for joining us, and I'm excited to see where the conversation goes and what other moms have to comment on when they watch our conversation.
Sam, are you going to end us with a quote?
Yeah, I thought this was a perfect way to end, again, with Dr. Beverly Daniel Tatum. She's amazing. Check her out. Give her a little plug here. So she says, unless we engage in these and other conscious acts of reflection and re-education, we easily repeat the process with our children. We teach what we were taught. The unexamined prejudice of the parents are passed on to the children. It's not our fault, but it's our responsibility to interrupt this cycle. So we invite you all to be a part of that interruption process with us.
Yes. Thank you.